Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 451, Pirate Games, or Andy's favorite games.
So true. So true.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. Check out their website. They have amazing products. They have game toppers to fit on any of your table spaces. They also have legs if you don't have a table space, but would still like a game topper. And they have beautiful mats to go on your toppers. And they even have a pirate mat, which fits so well with this episode's theme of pirate-themed games. And is also my favorite mat that I own. I love my pirate mat. It's awesome. It's beautiful. Game toppers, they have amazing things, tons of accessories to add to your toppers as well. Cup holders, wine glass holders, dice towers, trays, all sorts of stuff. Check them out. You'll love their products. GameToppersLLC.com.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holiday.
I'm Logan Howard.
And I am Andy Holiday. Arr.
Well, was that supposed to be a pirate voice, Nathan?
This
Go
is big boy voice.
Yes, my big boy. And pirates are manly pirates.
Is that why I've never heard it before? Because
Yes.
it's his big boy voice?
Exclusive to this episode, introducing Nathan's big boy voice. Check out our check out our web
Check out our webpage.
check out our webpage at meeplenation.com. We have weekly blogs that release, photos, links to our past episodes. You can get to know us and our blog writers a little bit better. And check out our Patreon link if you are interested in supporting the podcast. We are very grateful for all of those who have chosen to send a little something our way through Patreon. We really appreciate those donations. They help us improve the podcast in various ways. And if you'd like to drop us a line, you can do so at meeplenation@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
As alluded to, we are discussing all games Andy. So using our big boy voice, we're going to talk pirate games.
Yar.
Arg. So I thought since we're talking pirate games, we should jump right into Pirates Cove, because I know I'd love to play this game with Logan.
Logan loves to play this game with you.
Yeah, I can imagine so. So last year, 2021, Pirates Cove was on my 10x1 list. We played it at BGG Con. Pirates Cove is a game where you use a rondel, which is awesome. Or I should say that in my big boy voice. A rondel, which is awesome. You dictate which island you're going to travel to. And then if you end up at the same island as somebody else, you're going to battle. And if you see the other ship sail away, you're going to gain victory points. You're trying to gain loot and treasure and bury that treasure to all score points for at the end of the game. The goal of the game is to be the most notorious pirate. One of the best ways to do that is when Logan's distracted on his phone ordering food for me at BGG Con and others, not just me. While he's distracted, helping me out, I thought I'd do him a solid and sink his ship. And
How piratey of you.
it was rather pirate of me. He was distracted, so I took advantage. It was all a ploy to make sure that the other guy that was whooping on us didn't win, and he still won.
Which I don't know why you didn't whoop on him.
Because I couldn't sink him. I mean, you were already wounded. You were vulnerable, weak. Pirates Cove is a game that I really enjoy. It's simple. It's an older game.
I remember really enjoying it, but I've had bad recent memories.
Came out in 2002, 3 to 5 players, and it uses a rondel. Not enough games use a rondel. Pirates Cove is a great game to begin our discussion of Pirates games.
Even though it's 20 years old, which is crazy to think that that game is 20 years old. We busted this game out this summer with my kids, and it is still just such a solid game. It is really fun. Having as many games as we do, obviously we don't get games to the table as often as we'd like, but it plays quickly and it's simple enough. There's really no reason why it can't get to the table. If you have people that know how to play it, it could almost be a filler game. It goes so quickly. 12 rounds, right? And
Right.
The rounds-
over a year. Yeah.
yeah, and the rounds go quick. Well, since we're talking about my favorite theme, I think I should talk about my favorite pirate game, and that is Dead Reckoning.
That is a great game.
It
I
is,
would second that.
it is so good. We talked about it earlier this year. Dead Reckoning was a Kickstarter I received this year, and oh my goodness, it is wonderful. Designed by John DeClaire. He's the same game designer of Mystic Vale and Edge of Darkness. Of all the card crafting games that I've played, in particular the ones he's done, or any of them, right? Because we've played others that are card crafting games. This one is my favorite. Now, it's not just card crafting, which is kind of what Mystic Vale is. This has exploration involved, and it has sea battles involved. And as I've stated in the past, what drew me to this game is this 3D ship that is like a dice tower that you're throwing cubes down there for the ship battles. Acts like it's a broadside cannon. I mean, it's super nerdy, and I loved it, and that's why I had to get it. And luckily, this game is amazing. Not all the time, but a lot of times if you're fighting each other, or even if you're fighting a merchant ship, even if you lose, you can come away with quite a bit of loot, and it actually can benefit you whenever you're battling, unless you get sunk, and then it can hurt. As long as you don't get sunk, you can come away with quite a bit of either cargo or gold that is going to benefit you throughout the game. Awesome as far as pirate theme. There is a pirate theme to it where you can go into pirate mode at the end of your turn, or you can attack other players if you level up your captain, or you can just play the merchant and be peaceful the entire time. So you have that option as well. I love this game. This game brings out the best of Doug, and then with his rage, and then wins.
It was the best of Doug. It was the worst of
It
Doug.
really kind of
It
was.
really was. Richie came over and sunk me. It was awful. It was devastating. I was mad about it. But the game itself is genuinely fantastic.
Absolutely.
I love the card crafting, but it's more than that. This is John DeClaire taking his gift for card crafting and implementing it into what is a really good game as well. Has a lot of exploration and discovery as you're going out and uncovering those tiles. It has some player interaction, as we know, but also you could play this almost entirely trying to avoid the other players. Love that broadside dice tower. It's a cube tower, not really a dice tower. You drop those cubes in it, super fun. So every time you resolve combat, it's a blast. The art, and of course, that pirate theme comes through in this in huge ways. Everything about this oozes pirate.
I think my favorite part is the fact that gaining those advancements that you're sleeving in the card crafting part, but you also get to level up your pirates as well. There's the backer card that you start with. Well, it will rotate and flip when you level up your pirate. Not only are you increasing the card's effectiveness by sleeving the transparency sleeves into it, but you're also upgrading your crew members and gaining better abilities in order to further whatever strategy you're trying to go for in the game. It's so well done. I love it.
And you played last time I saw anyway, with an expansion I was so excited to play. And so I was so jealous when I showed up late to game night. Or unique crew members.
We started the campaign, the first campaign of Dead Reckoning, and we also tied that into the Sea Dogs expansion, which allows you to exchange crew members out for different unique, and you draft those at the end of the first campaign. And so at the end of the next episode, or the next plays through that first campaign, we'll be drafting every single time. So Doug got the benefit of having more cards to look at of the Sea Dog cards to choose from. I'm excited to play that again on our next play of, like we've talked about many, many times, our ever-growing list of campaign games. Whether you're playing that as a campaign game or a standalone, just single play, it's great.
Kind of funny. I make these lists and try to get games that we have, list them on there. And you guys always pull out some game like, wow, this game should have been on the list. So it's my turn. There's a game out there, originally was implemented, had a pirate theme on it. And then they stripped that pirate theme out and stripped all the theme out. Might as well call it a Euro-style game at this point, but it's a trick-taking game, and that's Corsari. You remember this, Dave.
I loved Corsari.
This is a great game.
In my version that I own, which has the pirate theme in it, you're trying to set sail with your ship, and you have to have your crew and your stowaways and try to manage which cards you're going to keep, because you can only keep 2-color suits, and those are going to count as your crew. Top card of the tavern is the color that will count as stowaways. Everything else that is not one of those 3 colors counts as points against you. On your turn, you're going to draw a card from the discard pile, the top of the draw deck, top of the tavern, and then you're going to discard a card. Always maintain that hand size and try to filter out, get the suits that you need to be able to set sail. And if you set sail and somebody else is able to set sail with a lower point value, then you get their points as well. And the way they can get a lower point value is the crew you set sail with, your opponents have the opportunity to add cards from their hand as being part of your crew. So they have the chance to have less cards count against them. A risk, do I set sail? Or if I set sail now, is somebody else going to get lower than me and I'm going to take their points? Classic game. I don't remember when it first came out.
I really like this game because it fits into that beer and pretzels style game where you can just shuffle and play while you're eating food and having snacks and just talking and still socializing. It's light enough that you can still participate in the social aspect of getting together and playing while still offering enough depth to make it a fun pirate themed game.
New Year's Eve party we played, my wife was like, you should get this game. I was like, well, that's my copy. And then after the next round, she's like, I never want to play that game again. Because she set sail and she got hosed, got everybody's points. And so I'm never playing that game again. It was great for one round. Corsari, I love the challenge of it. And you play, tell somebody, I want to say 200 points. And then at that point, whoever has the least amount of points is the winner. Great game. That didn't originally make the list because the theme has since been peeled off of that game.
That's so unfortunate.
Boo.
Several weeks ago, when Dave's daughter, Nola, was getting married, that weekend, everyone was really busy. I think everyone had canceled on coming to Friday night game night, except for me, of course, because I apparently don't have the ability to make other plans.
Doug, you are committed, and I like it.
It was just Amara, me, and Andy for game night. We decided to bust out Sea of Legends. I had not played that one before, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a really great game. Fairly simple concept. It's just got open sea map with various islands on it. You're going to pick a pirate, and then it kind of has this cool system where you pick a nemesis and a lover. Andy, you're going to have to help me out here. I can't remember how many different factions there are that you can play against, but you can pick one of...
It's actually two. So you have the Spanish Armada, which is always out. And
That's
then
right.
you have two other enemy factions that are going to be out as well. You can choose randomly or you can just pick them if you want.
And we played against the Harpies and the Skeleton Army, the one where they all come together and form the big giant skeleton if they all meet up in one location. You're out to explore the waters. You're trying to upgrade in various different ways, trying to either avoid or fight the enemies that are out there. You can pursue either quest line for your nemesis or a quest line for your lover.
Or your captain as well. Captain will have a quest line, increase your captain, get your captain to flip his side to his legendary side to get an extra ability as well.
That's right. I should have had you just talk about this one, but I really did enjoy this game. As you do all of these things, it's kind of a sandbox style game. And as you bury treasure and pursue these different quest lines and fight enemies, you're basically just going to earn legendary points. And then I think it's the first player to get to 10 will win the game. Now, the game that we played, none of us got to 10. We got destroyed by the Harpies. And that was unfortunate because I was really into pursuing some of those storylines. I actually thought the writing in it was good and the app integration was well done. This game hit for me on a lot of levels. I liked it. I'd love to play this one again.
Yeah, I just wish that it was narrated. I wish the app had narration for all the dialogue on what happens. But you're right, the writing's top notch. It's really well done. We didn't keep the eggs away from the Harpy enough to win the game. And yeah, they kind of destroyed us. We were doing really well with the skeletons, but those Harpies, they were pretty brutal.
Yeah, it almost has kind of a hot potato style of play when you're against them. You have these eggs you're trying to keep away from them, and yeah, we did not do a good job.
You know, and that's what's so great about this is each of the enemies, they have a different goal, so they all play differently. The AI is unique for each one, so they're trying to do something different, and it totally changes the way you're playing the game. The time that we played with the other guys here on the podcast, we were playing against the merfolk, and I think it was also the skeletons. And I allied myself with the merfolk and totally hosed everybody over. It was epically awesome.
I was going to say that when you said that you were destroyed by the Harpies, I was going to say, good. Because you deserve it, Andy Poops.
But I didn't deserve it, Dave.
No, I know, but collateral.
And Amara, poor Amara, she didn't deserve that.
Spawn.
She does sometimes. lot of these games on the list, they're fantastic games, and they're all games owned by Andy. Most of us could just sign off and he could just talk about all of them. One of the games I played with him, Sewer Pirates. Older game, absolutely fantastic. I love the theme. I love that these rodents and creatures are gathering trash as treasure, that you're trying to ransom back dollies to little girls. Thematically, it is just so wonderful. I would have never played this game if it wasn't for Andy and his love of pirates. That's the reason why he bought the game, I'm sure, is because it was pirates. Not because of sewer, but because it was pirates.
That's true.
So, Logan, you say that most of these games are Andy's.
Here we go.
It is true that Doug does not own very many pirate games. 3, to be precise.
What he meant is the fun ones were owned by me.
Unless you count Disney's Villainous, has Captain Hook.
That's true. I own that
It
one
is
as
on
well.
the list.
Oh, is that one of the 3?
It is.
Andy does have more pirate games than I do, but about a difference of 3.
Yeah, see, but the difference is that you buy them and you collect them. You don't make me play them.
How many games do you buy and make us play?
Hey.
Or let us play when we beg and beg and beg for Solomon
I
Kane.
told you a Solomon Kane. I will read the rules one more time.
Pathfinder adventure card game Skulls and Shackles wasn't one I actually thought we would see on the list here because I didn't think of Pathfinder as a pirate game. But in this version, you do come across pirates. When we first played Pathfinder, it was not a favorite of mine. Played it several times, and I think it was largely because it took probably an hour to set up the game. Played it, and it was another one of those that I was trying to ask questions so that I can understand the game, and I was told, it doesn't matter, you just want to do this. You don't need to worry about any of this stuff. First several plays of this game was not super for me. It's a card game. Obviously, you set up the board with different locations that you're going to go to. Everybody has a unique hero that they play, a deck of cards that goes with that hero. And the heroes are different types, bards and clerics, rogues, druids, all different hero types. Very unique in the number of different types of cards that they can have in their deck. Some are going to have allies. Some are going to focus on weaponry or armor or spells. It has a very unique mechanic to it, how you play when you play cards. Certain cards, when you play them, you're going to lose them for the rest of the game. A lot of times it gives you a chance to roll a die and see if you can actually recoup that card. Your deck is actually your life as well. So very unique mechanics to this game. It took a while before it grew on me. It's grown on me, and it's one that I actually like quite a bit now.
It is a cooperative game. You're working together to try to find the villain for that scenario. And there's a light story involved with all of the Pathfinder adventure card game boxes that you can get. It's very light. I mean, there's really not much story, but you get to level up your heroes. I mean, you gain a reward as soon as you complete and successfully complete one of the scenarios. It's kind of exciting to level up your heroes in this. When you gain a feat of some sort that lets you add an additional card, because you have a set number of cards and card types that you can have in your deck every single game. So if you gain some cool cards during that adventure, you have to get rid of cards so you can make room. And you're right, Dave. As you're cleaning up and setting up for the next game, it can be a little bit time-consuming, I guess. If you get everybody helping, it's not so bad, but that's probably the biggest complaint I've heard about that game. Honestly, this is one of my kids' favorite games. Beg me all the time, hey, can we play Pathfinder adventure card game? And there's so many other games I would rather play than this, even though I really enjoy it, that I try to steer them towards other stuff that I would rather play. We've been playing the same campaign for quite some time. I think we're on the 4th scenario or 4th box, because there are 6 different boxes inside that have a bunch of different scenarios. So we're on like story 4, I believe. It's a solid game. And like you said, there are some unique mechanics involved with it. And I think they've done well with the pirate theme as far as the Skull and Shackles box. I think it's very well done.
I really like this game. I'm on Team Dave here. There always seemed to be a lot of downtime, waiting for shuffling to happen. Deconstruction of decks, reconstructing of those decks, for me, was very tedious. That did grind on my nerves quite a bit. But there's an app for this, and a digital version of this, and I think the digital version is phenomenal.
I played the app too, and actually it works well.
Yeah, I love the app. I think the app is superb.
I spent an embarrassing amount of hours on the app.
Yeah, it's easy to do. It eliminates all that deconstruct, reconstruct. You just go to the next round. And it has a little bit of animation in there, what kind of livens it up a little bit. For the most part, the game, I think, is still a very superb game. It's that downtime. And like you mentioned, Andy, it works out really well if everybody chips in. It bogs down immensely when you have one person who likes to be in control of all that deconstructing and reconstructing. For me, it's an instant, okay, well, you're going to do that. I'm going to look at my phone. The value I put on that game declines considerably. My investment in the game, if you can play with the right people, that's key to anything, right? You play any game with the right people, any game can be phenomenal. If you play with people that you don't get along with, any game can be miserable.
Well, I've never played this game or the app, but I want to state for the record that I'm on Team Andy,
Is it because he brings food?
just to make the teams fair.
Thanks.
Just to make the teams fair. Life's not fair, Doug.
So I wanted to pick your brains a little bit about something that I heard quite a while ago. This has been, 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm sorry because I don't have a source on this, but I was listening to a podcast. It's been a long time. One of the hosts or guests or whoever they had on there, they were talking about development and theme. And they had said that it is very difficult to make a successful pirate themed game, one that's kind of an evergreen or that climbs really high on BG lists. There may be some truth to that. I wanted to pose this question really quick. How many games on the BGG Top 100 would you guess have a pirate theme?
With that intro, I'm going to say 2.
That's what I was going to guess was 2.
I was actually going to guess 4.
I was thinking it needed to be higher.
You would think it needs to be higher, but
Like
after that intro,
8 to 10.
If you go and do a BGG search, there is only one game that is listed as a pirate theme game on the top 100. And I don't even know if it's a true pirate game. It's Maracaibo. I've never played it, but I thought that was more of a trading in the Caribbean style. Maybe there's pirates in it. I don't know. One game in the top 100. How many do you think are in the top 1,000?
15.
6.
There are 16 in the top 1,000. I just bring it up because I think it's fascinating. I know Andy loves pirate games. I love pirate games. I think they're fantastic. The one that Andy was just talking about, Dead Reckoning, that one falls in at 663. So maybe there's some truth to this idea that it's hard to make a successful pirate-themed game. And I'm just wondering, why is that? Why do we not see more pirate-themed games climbing the BGG stats list? I love a lot of the games that we've talked about, but they don't seem to rank as high. And I'm just wondering if maybe this is a tough theme. I mean, it's not as popular as we think it is.
Well, what about player versus player? That could be something that keeps a lot of pirate games from climbing the charts. When I say that, a lot of these pirate type games that I've played anyway, it's an option to do PvP. Dead Reckoning, we were just talking about it. I've played the game with young Logan and Amara. I was the only one that was doing any combat whatsoever. They were both being complete merchants, and I was fighting merchant ships, and then I decided to attack them. That could cause some salty feelings if I'm the only one that's attacking the other players to take points away from them.
You look at that top 100, there's a lot of high conflict games that are in that top 100.
But see, I would still just come back to the, if you're going to play Twilight Imperium, you know there's going to be conflict. Where Dead Reckoning, you can play the entire game and not have it. So those are different expectations going into the game.
Are you saying that people would be less likely to play a game where it could go either way?
Yeah.
People want to know going in whether this is a direct conflict game or sort of a group tableau building style game or something like
Like,
that.
are we playing Settlers of Catan or Risk? I'm going into those games very different. Risk, I go into that game knowing that there's going to be conflict, fierce conflict, where other games, yeah, there's going to be some moves that I'm not going to be happy about, but it's just the game. That's what I'm saying.
I'm thinking about just the games I like. Pirate theme aside, I love the fantasy theme. I love cooperative dungeon crawl games. It'd be very difficult to do a dungeon crawl pirate themed game. The only thing I can think of is if you're boarding a ship, it has several levels. Doing a dungeon crawl in the middle of the ocean, that's kind of anticlimactic, I think. Maybe get cornered into certain game mechanics or the type of game it is with the theme doesn't fit with certain types of games. That may be part of it. You couldn't do a pirate-themed Gloomhaven, for example. It would just be really difficult to do. As a game designer, maybe get hamstrung a little bit if stuck on the theme more so than the gameplay or the genre of game that you are trying to design.
I think you're right, Andy. And I think the pirate theme, more than a lot of themes out there, does have a tendency to dictate the mechanisms that a designer is going to use in the game. And I kind of wonder if that's maybe why. I would just love to see more pirate-themed games. I really enjoy the ones we've talked about and the ones that we've been playing this year, gotten several of them to the table. But if you start looking through the lists of what's popular and what's selling well, and they just don't seem to make as much of a splash, so to speak. And I wish they would. I wish that designers would focus a little more on that theme because I really like it.
Pirate themed games that we've talked about so far during the cast is we've all had some sort of seafaring type of mechanism in the game, which brings me to another game that we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast, and that's Dead Men Tell No Tales, which has absolutely no seafaring in it at all. You're 100% on a boat, boarding a vessel. You're exploring that, trying to get treasures, trying to get those treasures off while the ship's on fire, or rooms could explode, skeleton crew that are trying to attack you. And if you're playing with the expansion, there's a kraken attacking the ship. So there's a lot going on, yet you're not seafaring. It's also one of my favorite pirate games, just because it changes it up a lot. I have several games that are very similar as far as pirate-themed games, and that may be another reason why, Doug, your question. Look at Sea of Legends and Merchants and Marauders, and those are pretty similar games. Sea of Legends is stronger because it has the app integration and more story to it than Merchants and Marauders does, but the maps are almost identical because they take place in the Caribbean Sea, which, once again, if it's a pirate-themed, you're usually taking place in the Caribbean Sea because that's where historically where most of that took place. I think that you kind of get locked into certain types of gameplay to where it maybe look very similar to one another, or at least you can fall into that, right?
I think that's true. And I think that's one of the reasons why we should celebrate when a designer comes out with something like Dead Reckoning or like Sea of Legends that is so incredibly fun to play. And they've kind of cracked the code, so to speak, on how to make a unique and fun pirate themed game.
Definitely agree with that. And everybody knows it's my favorite themed game. And I don't know why. When I was talking to my wife about the fact that we were doing pirate themed games, her first response was, you should talk about Wasteland Express Delivery Service, which is a post-apocalyptic game that has no water whatsoever. And I looked at her weird and she's like, well, they're just desert pirates. You know, you're kind of right. They're kind of like desert pirates, which is maybe one of the reasons why I love that game so much. Going off of what she said, maybe there's a lot of games that maybe are kind of like pirate games that don't have the seafaring aspect to them. You're right. There's definitely some issues with you kind of get locked into.
And you bring up an interesting point. When we look at these games, we just naturally associate sea pirates. And there are a lot of, it's not quite like swashbuckling, but there's pirating going on. I guess that doesn't factor in the BGG filters to track down games like that. Right off the top of my head, I'm like, I can't think of anything. I know there's games out there where you're trying to work on something, then somebody has the ability to come and take over that. Air quotes, that is essentially pirating, but it all comes back to swashbuckling. If it's seaworthy pirating, it's classified as pirating according to BGG. And a lot of the games that we find are going to be more of that seaworthy, but I think Sabrina's spot on that Wasteland Express is totally a pirate game. And I really want to come up with others. What do I have that fits that same feel? You even look at a game like Firefly, Star Wars Outer Rim. There's some pirating going on there, but it's not seaworthy pirating.
Starfarers of Catan, where there are actual space pirates in that game.
Absolutely, yeah. Andy, on your list, which made the pirate theme, Pirates of the Caribbean dice rolling game. It's Liar's Dice playing in one of the movies. I can't remember which one of the movies. Now, all of a sudden, same example with Corsari. They slapped that pirate theme on that game. All of a sudden, now that's a pirate game. Corsari, you pull it off. Then you got some game called I Go. Does the exact same thing, but with no pirate theme. We didn't plan this episode to go into this deep discussion of pirate games and why pirate games aren't as prominent as other games. Somebody should reel us back in and start talking about some pirate games.
You're exactly right, though. There are so many pirate adjacent.
Adjacent's a great word for it, yeah.
Pirate adjacent games, things going on, different mechanisms in all kinds of games. I think it's a fun thought experiment to ask some of these questions and to dive into a theme and try to figure out some of these things. For designers and publishers and even other listeners out there, we need to be building and designing and clamoring for more pirate-themed games. Real hearty, swashbuckling, loot and pillage and destroy pirate games.
For any designers out there, pirate-themed dungeon crawl, figure out how to do it. That would be like mashed potatoes and gravy. Two awesome things put together that should be meant to be.
Pirates go around and you can pillage a location,
Yeah.
and each location has
Some sort of map you're exploring and
a map or a castle or
Skirmishing.
whatever you're
Yeah.
pillaging.
Or a city you're looting.
And you could even have sea battles involved in that too. So I think that would be awesome. I would love something like that.
There you go.
Let's get on it.
That's been our pirate-themed episode. Tune in next week. We'll each talk about a different pirate game. We only touched a small portion of our list here. There's lots of games out there not on our list that are out there as well. There is a deep pool of pirate-themed games out there. We're going to be talking about more of them over the next 2 weeks.
Until next time.
We'll see you raising the Jolly Roger at the game table.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter at Meeple Nation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product, and they have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Braiding Detergent for our music.
Go on.
Always. Yeah. Even when it's your daughter's birthday. And
I did not skip my daughter's birthday. Even
but
I have,
you said you were going to be at
even
my
I
house.
have limits, Nathan.
We came up with a perfectly acceptable birthday plan for autumn decor.
We really did, but I'm going to get us back on track. So several weeks ago, the weekend of Nola's wedding,